Hello YouTube, what's going on? I want to quickly start this video off by apologizing for the slight delay in this video, but remind you that we have a challenge of the month coming up this week with some announcements of who's winning foam roll and peanut ball. Stay tuned for that video. For this workout, anyone can jump in and get a little bit better on how to absorb the force when they're landing, how to squat a little bit better, to do a push-up better, and also plank or bridge in a better fashion. My name is Dennis Hekmati. I'm a performance coach and a sports scientist completely only for swimmers. And I'm bringing you guys these videos so you can get faster and more powerful. For this workout though, anyone can jump in, but I want you to be slightly warmed up. We're gonna go right into a preparation set. And if you're ready, let's check it out. General strength, the basics. This workout is going to be appropriate for anyone who wants a good refresher on how to do the basic movements such as the push-up, squat, hinge, and even absorbing force when we are landing. And if you have never been taught on how to do these movements, if you're a young swimmer or an older swimmer, you definitely need to watch this video. This is going to benefit us in the way that we're going to reduce the risk of injury in the future, and we're going to save a lot of repetitions as far as how effectively we're going to increase strength and power, and we'll end up making the connections in the water much better. We'll apply the force into the water much better and hopefully make better stroke corrections in the water. For this workout, what you will need: a tennis ball, that's for push-ups. Don't worry if you're unable to do them, we have regressions. You also will need a towel. If you have a PVC pipe or a dowel, anything that would equivalent a straight stick, we have a broom, that works. Now, in this workout, I'm only going to show you guys a few rounds here. The main set's going to be 2 rounds, but if you're getting into a sticky situation and you have issues with a few movements, I'm encouraging you, even imploring you, to do a few more rounds, okay? Even a few more repetitions if you need to. This is suggested for you so you can get a good idea and construct the workout appropriately. Are you ready? General strength, the basics. Tabletop one-arm scap push up. In a tabletop position, knees underneath the hips, one arm by the shoulder, and we're going to retract the shoulder blade and essentially squeeze them together and then push away, keeping the elbow as straight as we can and the spine as straight as we can. I want us to pay attention to the hand positioning. We don't want to roll the elbow away from the body. We want to keep the elbow close to the body and in towards the wall behind me. This is going to protect the shoulder much more. And in the same position, we want to maintain a long neck. Always focus on the hand positioning, that it's underneath the shoulder, and that the hands and the fingertips maybe point slightly outwards, and that the elbow is then pointing straight back. That is external rotation from the shoulder, and that's the safest position for us to do any kind of pushing movements. Bear crawl hold. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and then toes firmly planted. Count your breaths. Belly should be engaged and the posture as well, and you should be feeling your arms as well. And then pretend like someone is pulling a string through your head. Split squat. In a split stance position, keep your legs hip width apart with the front leg firmly planted on the ground, evenly distributed on the foot. Control the motion down without planting the knee down on the ground, because that's a lot of force on the knee. Just gently come down and then come up faster. Negative repetitions. Always pay attention to the posture. We want to avoid leaning forward too much, stay as upright as we can, and this might be stretching a little bit on the back leg as well to stabilize the movement. And always keep the spine as straight as we can, and with the front leg, try to keep the knee as much above the heel as possible. When we are working stabilizing movements,
I'm going to always encourage you to do negative repetitions, in which I'm referring to control the motion down and come up a little bit faster always. We want to avoid kicking the butt up in the air. We want to avoid looking straight up as well. Always maintain a long line from your neck down to the hips and try to stay as stationary as possible and take deep breaths. Also avoid pushing back or lean over the shoulder. Always make sure that the hips are above the knees and the shoulders are above the hands. And again, long neck, and same thing as the scap push-ups, making sure that the elbows are rolled inward. Avoiding leaning forward in the split squat, very important. And the way we do this is to control the motions again as much as we can to feel the restrictions. Typically that comes from the hip or that we're putting pressure towards the toes on the front end. Take a deep breath in, hold your breath as you push up until you have stand all the way up. Now we're feeling warmed up and ready. Let's now pay attention to the workout, and it's very technical, and we have to pay attention to the tempo in the movements as well. I'm going to be referring to a lot of 2-2 and 1s, some 1-1-1s, and you guys are going to get a better understanding of what this means as well. Good mix of posture here, a little bit of power, some upper body, and a little bit of core as well. And I'm getting ready here with some dynamic stretches. Always encourage that you are keeping it dynamic instead of holding it statically. We want to make quick pulls to make sure that our body is engaged and maintaining tension and not losing the tension. Hip hinge with a stick. Grab a stick or PVC pipe, place it on your spine, going all the way from your head, upper back, middle back, and down to your tailbone, and keep it there throughout the entire motion. Bend from the hip and from the hip only. Keep the pressure in the middle of your foot and pretend like someone is pulling a string through your head. Hold your breath throughout the entire position and then hold your position at the bottom before you are coming up. 2 seconds on the way down here, and we're going to hold it 2 seconds at the bottom before we are coming up a little faster. We're going to pay attention to our knees and our hip positioning here. The knees are going to avoid going in towards each other, and they're going to avoid going out away from each other so the feet are rolling out. But if the knees are intentionally staying away from each other, that's the best way of doing this. And the lower back avoiding to arch. Drop jump. In hip width position, load up on your toes and quickly drop down into the middle position of your foot. From your toes, arms coming up and sliding down very quickly to stiffen up the posture and absorb the force in the middle of the foot. As we land, hold your breath. Take a deep breath when you're on your toe, drop and hold your breath like you are ready to jump again. Push up. For this, we're going to use a tennis ball or a ball of its equivalency. And we're going to use it so we can have a reference point of where our chest is going to come down to in a full range. Hands outside the shoulders, and I want the feet outside the hips for a better stability. We're going to take a deep breath in, initiate the movement with the shoulder blades squeezing together, and controlling the movements down and then pushing through the ground to come all the way up. Important that we are maintaining a line here from the hips to the shoulders, all the way up to the neck, and then all the way down to the heel as much as possible. If we're unable to do a push-up, negative push-up, hands outside the shoulders, take a deep breath in, squeeze your shoulder blades and control the motion down so that the hips and the chest and the thighs connect to the ground at once. It's very important that we are taking a deep breath in and holding our breath and also squeezing our belly. Make sure that the fingertips are slightly pointed out and the elbows are pointing about 45-degree inwards. We want to avoid our elbows pointing straight out or even coming in towards our rib cage fully. What you want to focus on is the shoulder blades. Initiate the movement with the shoulder blade first, and then make sure that you are lowering your body in accordance to it. Avoid shrugging your shoulders up towards your neck and flare out your elbows outwards. That is essentially pinching my own shoulders. And avoid the hips being desynchronized with the shoulders or reverse. Squat. Hip width apart, maybe a little wider based on your own comfort level. Everyone is going to be slightly different. I just don't want you to be super wide and not just hip width apart. Toes can be pointed out slightly. And again, hold your breath. Lower yourself down in 5 seconds. Hold your second at the bottom and then exploding up. This is a 5-1-1 tempo where this is highly controlled on the eccentric, where we are essentially seeing how well we can control our posture and our position moving in slow tempos. We don't want the knees to go inward, and we do not want to hunch our posture either. We want to stay as upright as possible, and for squats to count, we have to get our hips down in line with our knees for it to count. And I want you to go down as deep as you're comfortable. And if you're unable to do it, we can actually place a little something on your heel to help out. Glute bridge. On your back, place your feet so your heels are underneath your knees. Push your lower back down to the ground before you are squeezing your glutes, and then come up into a glute bridge position and count your breaths. Hold this position and focus on your glutes and your hamstrings more than your lower back. The higher your hips go, the more you will feel your lower back. Elbow bridge. Place your elbows right underneath your shoulders, and we're going to get into a long neck position, feet outside of the hips with our knees on the ground, and then straightening the knees straight out to then get into our perfect bridge position. Count our breaths here again, and the goal here is to maintain the spine as straight as you can. The hand positioning doesn't really matter. I want you to punch through the ground and maintain a long and stable position. If we are having issues planking perfectly for that amount of time, we can simply pulsate here in this position. That is for our younger athletes or anyone that is coming back from a shoulder injury. Again, hand positioning is not important. The most important thing is that we are actually punching through the ground with our shoulders and not shrugging our neck. Child's pose to decompress, and now we are going to get ready for our second round. If you're doing the hip hinge really well, you should be able to let go of the dowel when you are getting into a horizontal position, when you're getting essentially parallel to the ground. This is not easy to do if we are beginners, but you know that we're getting more advanced once we can actually make this little switch with our arms and not touching this pipe. If we're in this position, we know that we're getting into a more advanced level. When we're dropping, we need to make sure that we're absorbing in the middle of our foot and avoiding swaying too much either to our toes or to our heels. That happens easily, but it's okay. We're just encouraging the athlete to absorb and adjust for the next upcoming repetitions. The more advanced we get, the lower we can drop, and it's essentially going to help us more in the weightlifting or Olympic lifting movements. And it's really rapid, and we are here stabilizing hips, knees, and ankles because we're absorbing high forces. And again, the more advanced we get, the lower we drop. The main criteria is for the posture to maintain upright, and if we are getting a little wider with our feet in that position, it is okay when we get a little bit lower because it is a little tougher on the hips. One of the most important notes on the push-up is that we are stiffening up the entire system, not only from our hands holding the ground, and I want us to really hold the ground all the way to the shoulders, the abs, hip flexors, quads, and down to the toes. Everything needs to be as stiff as possible for a push-up to be effective. Control the tempo in the squat as much as possible and push the range as much as you can without the chest falling forward. It's important that you are going to the extent that you are comfortable. So if that means that you're just going halfway, that's okay. I just don't want you to round your back. I don't want the knees to cave inwards. It needs to look as good as you possibly can. In order for that to be, you need to find tension, not only in the hips, potentially in the feet and the ankles, but also a lot in your posture. For the glute bridge, lift your arms up to make it a little bit more challenging for you and reach them up to the ceiling. We want to find the hamstrings and the glutes. The lower back should not be working that much. It works enough in the water, and we need to find a proper way to activate our glutes and our hamstrings. In a elbow bridge position, we need to be able to take deep breaths without losing the tension in our abs and in our glutes. That's going to maintain the lower back flatness. Cool down, child's pose, upward facing dog. Try to keep this moving as much as you can here. Squeeze your butt and squeeze your belly when you're coming into the upward dog position. Important that we are not putting too much stress on the lower back, and I like to flow up and down here after the workout to quickly loosen the body up. Each time we get into the child's pose position, feel free to reach forward with the fingertips a little bit more, rock side to side to loosen up the lats and get a little bit taller with the body. Then grab your towel, grab your band or a pipe, either one you want. Pass-throughs. Let's open up the chest. Let's open up the lats a little bit more. But swimmers that especially have shoulder pain, pass-throughs, we have to do them on a continuous basis. And here I'm holding a little extra. I'm rolling inwards and outwards with my shoulder. Avoid rolling inwards. Okay, I want you guys to feel how the shoulders are feeling in different positions, but keep your elbows down, and that's in an external rotation typically. And then feel free to lean into either side and do whatever your body tells you to do here in this pass-through motion. 5 repetitions. You want to just avoid the lower back losing its tension. The abs and the glutes have to maintain this position, and that's why I am in this upright spot with my toes on the ground and my hips in line with my knees. This is the active position for me to stay in, where I know that I'm not going to compensate for my lower back. Scorpions on our back. Premise here to touch our toes to our hand, or elbow to our knee, or knee to our elbow. Loosening up our hips, loosening up our glutes and our spine. About 5 repetitions or so on each side should be sufficient. If you feel like this is a great stretch, you can do more of it. After practice, we're holding this longer. If we're doing this before practice, I want faster, quicker, dynamic movements. As we're going through the scorpions, whether we are on our back or belly, we want to try to keep our bottom leg straight. So we don't want to compensate too much. I want to encourage you guys to straighten it out as much as you can. You can tell me having a slight bend here, but I have seen a lot worse. As long as you are from your hips thinking about rotating with one side and then stretching out the other side. Scorpions on your belly. Roll with the leg out towards your hands in a T position. We're here opening up our hips and our lower back, and it's important that we are not in a super relaxed position, that we have engagement in our abs and our glutes, that we're following a spot that we know we are safe in. If you have some sort of hip or back pain, I'm encouraging you to take this slowly. If not, you can go in and slowly move your range up, and the premise is to get our heel up towards our hand. And as you can tell, my mobility is poor. It has been worse, but the thing is that we can actually move all the way up here if we are losing tension in our abs. So make sure we have tension all the way through. That's the safest way of going through all these exercises. Good work.
That was a cool workout. Nothing too crazy, but if you were a novice or a beginner, you definitely got some good pointers on how to do things a little bit better. If you're advanced, that was nothing really for you. You have some workouts or videos coming up. We have a good challenge for you though. Let's see if you can out jump me in a broad jump, but only with one leg. So that video is coming up later this week. And again, like, share, subscribe, and as always, thank you so much for being part of this community, and I'll see you soon.